This is American Real, where we aim to inspire, empower, and enlighten you through the stories of our guests. Here's your host, Roger Brooks.
Can you talk a little bit about women empowerment, especially as it relates to your experience as a single mom and as an entrepreneur?
When I decided I had the ownership of my life, that empowered me completely. Taking responsibility for what we're doing is one thing, and then being able to organize yourself and be accountable to yourself is another thing. Sometimes we think we have to be brave and we have to be, strong, and yes, we do. But vulnerability is also being strong and brave. So if we need to ask for help, if we need to find some different ways to do what we want to do, that's fine too. That's okay.
Let me guess, you're an entrepreneur looking for ways to grow your business online. And you've probably tried everything to grow your business, including social media, SEO, even paid ads, only to find out that nothing truly works. So what if I told you that writing a book that goes on to become a bestseller is the magic wand, and that you can do it in as little as 30 days, 2 weeks, or even over a weekend in some cases, without spending more than 10 minutes a day? Would you be interested? My name is Roger Brooks, and I'm the founder and host of American Real TV, where I interview world-class guests to empower others through the essence of story. But I didn't get here overnight, and my mission certainly doesn't end here. Ever since I was a little boy, it's been my dream to empower others through the craft of writing and storytelling. And throughout my life, I came across several mentors who pushed me toward my passion for writing books and helping others to do the same. There is no greater joy than to be working with aspiring authors and to help them establish true credibility within their industry by writing and publishing their first book, which I'm proud to say have all gone on to become bestsellers. Now, you're seeing this video because I just opened enrollment for my new book writing program, where I promise to take you from page 1 to published in 90 days or less. I will be personally working with you to overcome the same fears and obstacles that kept me from pursuing my dreams all of those years. Simply click on the link below to see how I could help you become a first-time best-selling author. I look forward to seeing you on the inside.
This is American Real. I am Roger Brooks. My guest today is Viviana Vethencourt. You are a licensed mental health counselor, certified coach, and author. Viviana, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Roger. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I appreciate it. And we got connected on LinkedIn. It seems like everyone's getting connected on LinkedIn. This platform is just exploding. And I'd love to get your quick take on how you utilize LinkedIn and if it's been part of your growth as an entrepreneur, as an author, as a coach.
Yes, actually, I've been on LinkedIn like forever, but recently is when I got more active on LinkedIn. Actually, I've started even writing on LinkedIn and using much more of their services than I had before. And I've only used it before as a platform for building relationship with, which is great. But now I am starting to use it as a marketing platform also, and a way to reach more people, more than when I only have in my profile, in my following, by writing articles on it. But also I got, like, let's say in the last couple of months, connected with some, very, very good people around different fields, because I don't know if you know that I also launched a podcast a couple of months ago.
Yes, I saw that. That's
So
wonderful.
yes. Yes, so I've been connecting with different peoples, and I actually interviewed one of them for my podcast, and it was like something like for a 2 week thing, like we connected, we talked, we decided to do the interview. The same happened, like the same that happened to you or to you and me, like
It's fantastic. And I think the name of your podcast is called Strive Podcast. Is that right?
that's the name of my podcast.
Tell us about that. How did you get interested in starting your own podcast?
Well, my thing is about reaching more people, with not only my message, with the message of entrepreneurship, talking about mental health, talking about how to have a more balanced life, and like inspiring others to do what you can do. And I think a podcast is a great way to do it. And it's called the Strive Podcast because before that I created a model to change a coaching program to change what people need to change in their lives, and it's called the Strive Coaching Program. So now I am doing it through the podcast too, and that's my let's say the brand I'm building.
That's fantastic. And how do you feel about, and I took on the background today of Miami because you're down in Southern Florida, but the world is getting smaller, isn't it, with LinkedIn? It really doesn't matter where you are today. You could serve people all over.
Yeah.
And that's something I love. Are you finding that as well?
I am, yeah. And I'm making this big net of mental health practitioners, people in the mental health field, and I found people all over the world doing the same, which is great because that's one of the things I want to do, like create awareness about mental health, not only here in my town but everywhere else.
And why are you so passionate about mental health? What got you into the field of becoming a counselor? I mean, it's such wonderful work. It's such an important topic that affects us in more ways that I think we know. It's in virtually everything, whether it's sports or, drug addiction or, high pressure jobs. It's our youngsters in school and pressure. What got you into it?
Well, actually, it goes back to my childhood and my family. My grandpa was a very renowned psychiatrist in Venezuela, where I am from.
Wow.
So I grew up around that, and it really fascinates me. And so I always knew that I want to study, that I want to be a psychologist or a mental health counselor. So I graduated in psychology in my country. And then I came here to do my bachelor's in mental health counseling. And I didn't work in mental health for a while. I was doing coaching. I am a certified coach also. So I was doing coaching and working with organizations, with organizational development, doing consulting in human resources and organizational development. But at some point, I felt that I needed to go back to my roots. And I went full circle, and it's just a passion of mine. Every time I see a client or I talk to a group or I do something related to mental health, it like energizes me.
Yeah. Would you be able to share a story or two of how your work has impacted others as far as, maybe people are afraid to ask for help, right? But maybe can you talk a little bit about once someone does ask for the help, how you take it from there and maybe some of the steps to help them through?
Okay. Normally, when somebody asks for help, is because they can not deal with that anymore. You normally don't go and let me prevent something happen and let me, get a checkup and that's it. No, you go when you are in the problem and things are really bad. So what I do and what counselors do is just and understanding what's going on at the time and giving the person tools to be able to change what they need to change in that moment, or giving them coping skills to deal with what's going on, like anxiety attacks or panic attacks. They need coping skills to deal with that. And then at the same time, you work with what's causing it. You work with, the actual problem, but you need both as a person. So it is, at the beginning, it is like, let's take you to a more stable, position or situation. And then let's start creating new stuff. Let's start doing things differently. Let's start learning other ways to do things. That's the way it works.
I see. And would you be able to share a tool or two? So say I'm having, anxiety. What might be something that I could do to help myself in that moment?
Well, breathing always works, like deep breathing. And deep breathing is you inhale counting to 3, and then you exhale counting to 4. Okay. And you do that for, let's say, 5-10 times when you are in a crisis. Okay. And that will help. Also, there are different techniques. I use mindfulness techniques a lot. I am a certified mindfulness teacher too.
Okay.
So one of them, it's called grounding. And it means when you are in that moment of crisis, in the room you're at, you start looking at things like, let's say there is a computer, there is a lamp, it is chrome, it is on, there is the chair, which is black, and it feels soft. So you are using all your senses to ground yourself in the moment. Because anxiety is all about the future, what's going on, what's going to happen, what this person is going to say or not. And you need to ground yourself in the moment.
I love that. And that's why I love doing these podcasts, because, I just don't, you don't know what you don't know. So just those two simple tools like that helps me. Like, so next time maybe I'm having a crazy day, I could just breathe in 3 seconds, breathe out 4 seconds. Or if you're in a place, look at the objects. And I would assume looking at the objects, I think you said it makes you feel more present and not thinking about maybe what's causing that anxiety.
It brings you back to where you are at the moment and what you're doing at the moment.
I love that. So let's talk about your book. I know it's written in Spanish. If you could please pronounce it for me, because I would not do it justice.
It's called De Princesa a Dueña de mi Vida, which in English will say From Princess to Owner of My Life.
Wow. What a wonderful title. And can you tell us about what is the meaning of that title? And please, let's talk a little bit about your book.
Yes. The book is about basically what the changes I have encountered in my life until that moment. Okay. Because after that, many things have happened. But until that moment, I went through a lot of big changes in my life. And how did I handle them? What did I learn from them? And it ends up with a motto to help people change what they need to change in their life. Okay, it's a coaching, biographical, self-help book.
And this is about your own life. Is it more like a memoir of?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it's about growing up as a princess, actually, because I'm not going to say I had a difficult childhood or anything, because that wasn't my experience. My experience was having a life where I had everything. I had a wonderful family. I still have, thank God. And I had like everything planned out. I had to go to school. It was my only job, as my parents said. I had to do extracurricular activities. I danced for a long time. And I played tennis for a long time. I had to go to college. I had to get married. I had to have kids. I had to work if I wanted, and I got to choose my career, which was great. But and it wasn't like an imposition, but I felt like my life was all planned out. So I always felt like I was not making decisions for myself. Like I had to do things. You know? And then my dad passed away. My grandmother passed away. I got divorced. I had to raise two very little kids at that time. And I mean, everything happened like in a I don't know, I want to say 6 years or so. So I wasn't prepared for that. I wasn't prepared to have to deal with that kind of stuff, which happened to everyone, but I didn't have the tools because I was so protected before that I didn't have the tools for that. So I had to learn those tools. So the book is about learning new tools, learning new ways to do things, and coping with things that happens in life.
Wow. I'd love to know. So when you talked about, the things you had to do, it sounds like you maybe grew up, even though you're a princess, you grew up in a very strict household, right?
Yeah.
But when you get into the education, and then you said I had to get married, what does that mean?
I mean, it wasn't an imposition, as I said, but it was the natural progression of things.
Okay.
It was expected of me,
But it wasn't a marriage that was arranged.
No.
Okay.
It was just, I mean, I could not have been married.
Sure. So just taking the traditional path that most of us do,
Exactly.
right? Okay. And then there was crisis, and within that 6-year period, and you didn't have the tools to be able to deal with that, even though you went to school, right?
I mean, I went to the best schools in my country, and I had all of the opportunities I could have.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
But you studied psychology, correct? So you're saying even if you go to school and you study psychology, you still may not be prepared for life's.
Because let me tell you, I can be a counselor, and I think every other counselor will back me up on this. You are prepared to help other people, but not yourself. You cannot. It's not the same applying those things to yourself. Like,
Wow.
you need to go through things to be able to actually learn how to take that on practice. How to practice the things you say to others that they have to do.
Right. So Viviana, if we could help some people that might be younger, okay, so say they're in their early 20s or they're just getting married or whatever it is, anything that you learned that you maybe would have been able to apply then, or is it just something that you have to go through?
Yes. The thing that I think is the most important thing is to take responsibility for your decisions and your actions. Many times we don't want to make decisions because we don't want to take responsibility for the results of those decisions, right? And then we let others make decisions for us. And, they can be very, they can make the best decisions they think they are making for us because they are well, how do you say that?
Intended.
They are well intended, exactly. Yeah. But it's probably not the decision that we made, and we are not like exercising our power there. Okay. So, but most of the time when we let others to make decisions for us, it's because we don't want to take responsibility for the results of that decisions. If it goes bad, it's your fault because you made that decision. Okay.
Yeah, I listened to a video earlier today, and the gentleman was saying, in his mind, there are no excuses. Like, we have to take responsibility for all of our actions. You can't make excuses. And I think that's what you're saying here, right? Is that if we let others make those decisions for us, then that in itself, we should go with our gut feeling.
Right. Not only with our gut feeling, it's our decision. The responsibility is ours.
Okay.
And it's hard to make some decisions, but at the end, it's your decision. In psychology, there is something called Locus of Control, and it can be internal or external. So when you put the responsibility outside of yourself, like your wife, your parents, the country, the economy, whatever it is external locus of control. You're not taking responsibility for that. And then there is other people that have internal locus of control, which means I did this to myself, or that this happened because I did this or that. Okay. Now, when I see that, I am able to change what I need to change. But if I'm putting the responsibility outside of myself, I cannot change anything. I don't have control of that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
So the book itself, it's written in Spanish, is that correct?
It is.
And do you have plans to do an English version?
I do. Of course I do. Yeah, I am working on that.
Great. Yeah, that'll be wonderful. Okay, so let's move on to I know you have a new book in the works. Is that the book, or is it something completely different?
I have 2 different books in the works, actually. One is that, and it's gonna be like a second version or something a little bit different, because I'm gonna add some things. And the other one, it's about a women's group. It's also related to reality a little bit, because we at this point we have with a group of 12 other women, we have I don't know how to call it, an empowerment group or something like that. It's actually called Life Hacks Group, where we share every month. We meet and we share different things that have worked for us in life. And we present that to the others, and we discuss that. So we are empowering ourselves with the hacks in our lives.
That's wonderful. And can you talk a little bit about women empowerment, especially as it relates to your experience as a single mom and as an entrepreneur?
Yes, women empowerment is another of my passions. And it's related to the title in my book. So when I decided I had the ownership of my life, that empowered me completely. So I started doing things for myself. I started building businesses. I started doing I want to do this, and I went and did it. And I think that started happening in my life. So I've been involving women in groups and in different areas to actually inspire them with that message. I created some time ago a group, networking group of women, and we got to have like 2,000 women in the group in like a year. And I had to leave that group because I couldn't do everything at the same time. I was building my practice at the same time, and it wasn't not physically possible for me, but it was a great experience.
That's incredible. Did you do that on Facebook, or how did you get so many people into one group?
Yeah, I do that with social media, but also we had actually in-person meetings every 2 months or something like that. Mm-hmm. And we gather like 80 or 100 women in those meetings.
It's so great. And for women that are listening who are feeling like they need to be part of something like this, mm-hmm. What do you say to them? How do we empower more women to take a bit, a page out of your book, so to speak, that you did it. You're a living example of that.
So I wanted, before I answer that, I wanted to go back to the single mother thing, because I have been a single mom for, I want to say 20 years now. I've been divorced for 20 years. And at the beginning it was easier because they were little, and I had financially, I was okay, and I didn't have all the problems that single moms have. But then I moved countries, and it made that a little bit harder. I moved countries with my 2 kids, and I was doing my master's, and I had to start working after that and all that, and it made it harder. But I think that taking responsibility for what we're doing is one thing, and then being able to organize yourself and be accountable to yourself is another thing, and be involved in everything you do. Like do it with a purpose. Like, I want to do this, and why do I want to do this? And not getting distracted, because many things are coming, shiny things will come, and you will think, okay, maybe it's better if I do this. This will give me money faster or something like that, but no, you have this purpose, you stay in it, and you do it, and at the end, as a single mom, you are being a model for your kids.
No, and I'm so glad you said that, because it is hard for us to kind of stay in that lane and making sure that we're making good decisions, not only for today but for tomorrow and thereafter. So that's wonderful. Going back to my earlier question, any words of encouragement for women?
I'm sorry, I didn't answer your question.
Oh, that's okay.
It's basically, I see women as capable of everything they can imagine. Okay, and we are used to use a lot of excuses to not let ourselves do what we want to do. We are generally in the middle of what we want. We are ourselves in the middle of what we want. There is nothing else but ourselves. And that's it. Don't use any excuses. And if you need someone to make you accountable, find an accountability partner. Find a group that will be, your accountability partner. I had a coaching group, which was wonderful, that I participated in. I didn't lead. I participated in as a member. And for me, it was wonderful because they were my accountability partners, and that's a need we have. So sometimes we think we have to be brave and we have to be, strong. And yes, we do. But vulnerability is also being strong and brave. So if we need to ask for help, if we need to find some different ways to do what we want to do, that's fine too. That's okay.
That's awesome. Yeah, and for women to find these groups, what do you recommend? Do you recommend social media? Do you recommend
I recommend social media. I recommend, of course, Google them, and I recommend start networking. Networking is a beautiful thing.
Especially if you get a referral, right, from someone that's firsthand.
Right, but not only that, you will build relationships. I learned that I don't go and network to find a client, because I'm not going to find a client at that specific meeting that night. Maybe I will, but that's not my purpose. My purpose is to build a community, to build a safety net where I can, maybe you are a lawyer and I can hire you for something, or maybe I can help you do something, even though you're not my client, but I can help. Or maybe we can go and create a workshop and do a workshop together. I don't know. Possibilities are endless, but you need to create that community for yourself.
Awesome. Great. Let's talk about entrepreneurship.
Yes.
What does entrepreneurship mean to you?
A lot of things. It means freedom, not in terms of, what people think it is. Like, I have all the time in my life and I am going to the beach every day. And no.
That's all right.
Reality. It means freedom to do what I want to do my own way. Okay. It means a lot of responsibility, because it is all on my shoulders, especially when we are studying in a business. It's a lot of work. That's why I recommend people that it's getting into it's creating a business, that do something that you really, really like, and find your passion and also find your purpose. Because if not, I many times I've had to tap on, why am I doing this? Because sometimes it's hard, and you also need to be prepared for uncertainty, which is, this was one of my big things that I learned, because before I was very afraid of uncertainty. I couldn't deal with that. And now being an entrepreneur, that's what you have. You know, it can be great one day and it can be horrible the next day, you know, but then you tap into why you're doing that, your why and your purpose, and then the following day might be much better. You know?
I'm sure, like anything, the more you do it and the more experiences of uncertainty that you have, the better you get at responding.
Right. And for me also, entrepreneurship is a way to reach more people, to create community, to, you know, work in teams that are not restricted in the culture of an organization, but that can serve, you know, as many people as you want to serve.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
What does a typical day look like for you? What does it entail?
Well, one of the things I love of being an entrepreneur is that no one day is the same as the other. You know,
That's great.
I get bored doing the same thing all over again. So I love that, you know. But I would wake up and I will, you know, make some tea and then meditate and then work out and then go or sit to work at my house or go to the office and work at the office or seeing clients or have meetings if I have meetings outside. I do workshops, I do different things. So I sometimes have meetings outside of the office, but it's very diverse. I mean, my days are very different, but normally I start with some self-care, like I would meditate and I would work out, and then I will start my work day. Okay.
That's awesome.
And normally I do work 10 or 12 hours a day.
Oh, I'm sure. And, you know, I'm sure some people might be listening to this. One of my mentors said this recently that, you know, what does drinking tea or, you know, self-care or working out have to do with my work later in the day? Absolutely everything. Right? Absolutely everything, because it sets the tone.
Yes. I always say you can have the day you want to have, you know, if you set the tone, as you say, at the beginning of the day. If you start the day all rushed and you know, not having time to even have breakfast or whatever you need to do, and you run out of the door and then you get into traffic and you are rushed, and your day is going to be like that all day. You know, you're starting like that. So you need to set the tone for the day yourself at the beginning of the day. You know, and self-care is super important, because how am I going to work 10, 12 days, 10 hours if I am not physically and mentally prepared for that? That's hard.
It is hard if you're not prepared.
Right.
But when you are prepared, it seems not easy, but it's so much more manageable.
You know, I'm tired at the end of the day, of course,
right?
But I am happy.
Yeah, and what a difference to be happy, right? Fulfillment of loving what we do on a day-to-day basis, helping others, forming networks, being part of groups.
I've had times where I didn't like what I was doing, and that's horrible. That feeling is feeling miserable, you know. But at that times I did it because I had to do it, but always with the vision of I'm doing this right now because I have to do it, but what I'm gonna do is this and that after this.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I know many people feel stuck in their careers or in their jobs, and you know what, it's okay to have a little bit of a side hustle, right? Do what we're doing now, have a podcast or be part of a group or write a book or something that you're passionate about that could give you that added spark to know that you're going somewhere.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, let's say 3 years ago or so, I found myself with no job, no car, nothing at the same time. And it was a very, very hard time in my life. So I had to sit with myself and, okay, what am I going to do from here? You know? And that's when I got back to mental health. So I have my education, I have my resources, I had this experience, and so let's put it to work. So I got employed in a community mental health agency, which I loved working with my clients, but I hated the agency work. Okay, that was horrible for me. And I'm not an employee; I'm an entrepreneur. I haven't been employed for a long time in my life. And at the same time, I kept doing the consulting work, and I was teaching at a university, and I was doing something else. I can remember right now where was it, but I had like 4 different jobs at that time, and I knew that was the way to get out of that situation. And then when I was more stable, I left the agency, and I was doing private practice. That was the 4th thing. I grew my private practice, and I was able to leave the teaching job and focus much more in the private practice. So that's where I am right now.
And I love that, because you talk about the time, whatever it was 3 years ago, when you may have been at maybe one of your lowest moments. And, you could have went one of 2 ways. You could have gone into, say, depression and self-pity, or you could do what you did, and that's say, okay, I'm going to dig deep. I'm going to work hard. I don't care if I have to do 2, 3, 4 things at the same time to get out of this place. Wonderful. That's such an amazing story, and I'm so glad you shared that.
Thank you.
So let's chat about mental health, the importance of mental health. I know you like to talk about life balance and as you said before, self-care.
Mm-hmm.
How important is mental health to you?
Oh my God. I mean, it's my life. Let's start with that. But it's super important. We've known, I mean, right now we've heard a lot of celebrities and famous people talking about their mental health issues and creating awareness of that and all that. But just in my little circle with my private practice and all, I've had many clients, and that's why I said before that people don't come to therapy until they are really in a bad place, and that's one of the reasons, because of the mental health stigma. I'm not going to go to therapy because I'm not crazy, So that's one of the things I am committed to fight, like the stigma of only the people that goes to therapy or take care of themselves in that way are the people that are crazy or have a serious illness, and that's not true.
Yeah. How do we as a society get over this stigma? How do we get past it, I should say? Because it is probably the most important topic today.
I think it's about education. What is actually a mental illness? What is actually, what is therapy for real? What does that mean to have a mental illness? And for me, it's the same as to have a physical diagnosis. Like people have diabetes, people have cardiac diseases, people have different autoimmune diseases, which are very, very tied to mental health, but that's another topic. And nobody nobody is criticizing them for that. Nobody is telling them just get better, just deal with it, just get up from your bed and go to work and be happy. Nobody's telling them that.
The stigma.
Exactly. So education is the first, our first tool to get rid of that stigma, I think. And just talk about it like we are right now, just bring the topic out, talk about that. I talk about that everywhere. I talk about that all the time, But, I'm just myself. So we need more people to do this.
Right. No, and that's again what I love about doing these podcasts is that we're able to reach, between you and I and our networks, thousands of people.
Exactly.
Which is great. So hopefully, people that are listening, they could help themselves if they need help or help someone else that they know of, just by getting over that stigma of mental health and bringing, the heartfelt need to get better, right?
To get help, to get,
help.
a professional to talk to,
Right.
medication if needed.
And I like how you talked about like diabetes, right? So if I have diabetes, I'm diagnosed, I'm going to get help, and people are like, okay, that's
Nobody's
normal.
telling you eat sugar. You should be eating sugar.
Right.
No.
So it's the same thing with mental health. Wonderful. Wow. Well, this has been an enlightening time with you. What's next for you? What are you working on that's exciting that we could, I know about the book, you mentioned that, but anything else that we could be on the lookout for?
I'm working on the books. I'm working on some workshops. I am working on a retreat for women, and I'm working on another thing I cannot say right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That must be top secret. That's really good. That's exciting. That's exciting.
Yeah. So that's what I'm working on.
Awesome.
I'm also working on something. So yeah.
I could tell, Viviana. If people want to reach you, what's the best way to connect with you?
Okay, my social media is at Vivi Vethencourt. My webpage is www.vivivethencourt.com. Okay, or you can put my name online on Google and you'll find me.
Great. Yes, and we'll also put the links in our show notes so people could click right to you. And look, this has been a great conversation. It's so great to connect with you. I have two last questions because
Okay.
I would feel I just need to ask these to you. So if you were to take your cell phone and call the 20-year-old Viviana, what would you tell her?
I will tell her that I just need to trust myself a little bit more, and I need to take responsibility for my own life and my own decisions, but I am gonna be okay and everything is gonna be fine.
Awesome. Great. And then the last question, which I ask every guest, at the end of the day, you have a lot of work to do, but when your work is done, what do you want your legacy to be?
Well, my legacy is I think I'm actually leaving my legacy, which is my children, my two sons. We have a great relationship, and they are two very mature young men. They are 20 and almost 23 now, and they are, as I said, taking responsibility from their own life, and we, discuss things very, in a very adult way, and also they are taking care of themselves. So just seeing that, I that's it for me. That's a lot. That's it.
That's wonderful. Viviana Vethencourt, you are amazing. Thank you so much for coming on our show. We can't wait to spread the word about your work, and welcome to the American Real family.
Thank you so much for having me, Roger. You're amazing too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into American Real. Be sure to visit our website, americanreal.tv, or search for us on iTunes or YouTube for past episodes. While you're there, please rate us or leave us a review, as that helps others find our show. I am truly grateful and appreciate all of your support. If you'd like to be part of our inner circle or want one-on-one coaching, check out the American Real Learning Academy, where we have self-help groups and courses so you can build the best you. We also have a new Facebook group where you can connect with high achievers from around the world. If you want to go even further, maybe you're determined to write your own book or launch your own podcast, contact me today to see if we could help. You can reach me through Instagram or Facebook, or email me directly at roger@americanreal.tv. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.